Hi, this is Sandy with SDS Digital and the Accord Sequarallel. Today we're going to have a look at recording automations from a DAW software and the different methods to get them into the Sequarallel. This is a fitting topic as we've recently done away with the clunky automation track, originally intended for such a use. In these examples, I'll be using a really old version of FL Studio for its simplicity and custom dashboard, and a trusty old wavetable synth, the My Synth 2, I had designed to go into a project back in 2014, but it never quite got there. So here it is, still in PC board form. Maybe one day. So all this assumes we have a DAW patched into the MIDI input on the Sequarallel beforehand. The affected object of these automations will be a tracks tracker sequence on channel 1, feeding the My Synth, but also some CCs are being sent out from the CC CV jacks. Set up the layer record with one shot on, record mute on, probably, and clock start. This is so there's not worry about where the automations begin. The layer will start recording with the first MIDI clock. The first method we'll do is to individually record automations into layers. This is great for longer automations, but we'll just do a short 2-bar recordings for time's sake. It's always a good idea to play a short time to familiarize the Sequarallel's clock engine with the incoming MIDI clock before recording, as many DAW softwares fire out a lot of data when play is first pressed. So arm the Sequarallel to play, then hit the DAW transport play button. So pattern 1 is in layer 1A, which is this ADSR attack value. Doing it this way has recorded the large initiation packet as well that FL Studio would send, but the following layers can be punched in. Switching to pattern 2, it's cut and res filter controls. Every 2 bars, there's a different set of automations. This is the automation, plus from CC1 jack on the scope. Set up to arm layer and click just before the loop. Voila! Now again for pattern 3. This could be slowed down a lot too, it makes no difference to the play speed. Now for a 4th. This one has no change until near the 2nd bar. Automations should always start in the 1st bar during a running record, or they will be shifted to start earlier, right? I won't do all of these, so don't worry. Start. This one changes the wavetable quickly. Notice that during record all of the others are muted. This is because we set that in record settings at the start. Really, it should be muted entirely during record. So now there's 5 automation sequences in this layer quick box, each 2 bars long. From here they can be played alone in a sequencer, together in combinations, or in specific parts of the playlist. Let's have a look at them all together in the View Song quick box. The My Synth 2 is on the link port. Now they can be separated or disabled in the layer sequencer, selectively. I'll select each to show the CC automations in each. Well, up to 3 of them. Remember the second one, or letter B here, was cut filter? I'll add that to several steps. Steps can be prolonged by looping, of course, which can be done by just increasing the bar count. Recording a series of automations is a fast way to get them all in. This requires that each be the same size, although they can be oversized, then re-triggered in the layer step sequencer. So to start, it's the same setup in the layer record settings. Using the last automation set in FL Studio, all 7 can be recorded into layer 1. Always do a short run to calibrate the clock in the Sequarallel. It's free running, so it requires a short time to update, but remembers that clock rate. Everything armed? And play. And here they are, much quicker. Now to separate them like before. I'll speed that up. Using the DAW MIDI clock is okay as long as an empty pattern is selected that's not going to affect things. A third way to record automations is with song loops. This is pretty much the same as recording sequentially into layers, but one can only be used at one time, which may be the target application. Plus, the accompanying song effects can be applied to any internal MIDI sequence, especially if that sequence is in layers. But for now, we'll just use the same tracks loop. Below, there are some Note 121 song loop markers inserted, so the loop points will be created immediately. So prime the clock rate, as I have restarted the Sequarallel since the last, and arm to song record by hitting the play and stop buttons together. During record, the only indicator is the PNS LEDs go on solid. I have added some drums to make things a little more exciting, as we can't play the track sequence while recording the automations into song loops. Stop after a couple of empty bars. Once stopped, the LEDs will go out. The empty bars contained a loop marker note to end the loop. The good thing about this fast method is that the loops can all be different sizes. So in the playlist, all of the loops have been added to be used wherever. Need to get rid of 8, the end piece. So let's switch over to modular clock and give them a try. They can also be set to loop X times or even loop at odd bar counts, just like layers. Speed it up a bit. This could be separated and called up remotely with the jump to feature, or armed to play via PLFX from other tracks. Under the loop quick box, we find the pre-made loops from including a note 121 at each second bar in the DAW. As I mentioned, these loops could be triggered via several remote MIDI notes or a CC control simply by assigning them to be armed in the playlist. The song loop's song effects can also be changed to further control stuff like transpose and scales of whatever is playing, or much more if layers are carrying the tune. Incidentally, changing the swing in song effects will swing everything, including the automations. I imagine something cool could be done with that for a future video. So there's 3 ways to get automations into the Sequarallel. Thanks for watching!